I'd like to call this meeting order, please. Everyone join us in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. It is now September, after Labor Day, so everybody's happy to be back in school. Well, most of them. Let's start with the approval of the minutes of the August 30th, 2016 regular meeting. Motion, please. I'll move. Mr. Wilkerson. Second by Mr. Baker. All yes?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think anyone's finding in to speak tonight, have they, Bill? No, sir. Okay. All right, so we have several presentations, and we're going to start with Bill McLeod, Tab Mathis. I don't know whether Megan Hatfield is going to be involved in this. I see her here, but the math department at the high school. I didn't say anything about Mr. Snyder because he's in the back row.
He is, he's right.
He was always in the back.
We thank you for the opportunity. We wanted to share some good news with you, and but we want to preface it by saying that we're not where we want to be, and we're not where we should be, but we're not where we were. We have made improvement, and of course you mentioned we have Ms. Hatfield and Mr. McLeod with us here tonight. Mr. McLeod is the department chair of our math department. And I want to applaud them and the entire math department because we've made a great deal of changes within our math department and how we teach math. And because we know if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you're going to continue to receive the same results. And the results that we were getting were not satisfactory to us or to you or to anyone else. So we've made some drastic changes in how we teach math. And basically what we do is teaching math to mastery. And as the years progress from elementary to middle to high, the number of standards drastically increased. Matter of fact, from the 8th grade to the 9th grade, they literally doubled the math standards doubled. And what has happened, not only at our school, but in schools across the state and across the nation, we have taught an inch deep, a mile wide, trying to cover every single concept that we could possibly cover within the amount of time that we had, regardless of whether the students were mastering the material or not. So we've implemented some changes in how we design our lessons, and our lessons are basically based upon this. When I come into a math classroom, I have to have 3 pieces of material handed to me. Actually, it's on their desk. They have it out ready for me to see. It's the latest assessment of the classroom, which is a classroom test, and they have to be given every week, with the exception of sometimes at the most 2 weeks of instruction. So every week, every 2 weeks of math instruction, they're giving another assessment. And from that assessment, then the next piece that they provide for me is an item analysis. Now in the past, usually the only item analysis that we have done have been of state assessments. We would break down the state assessment to see where our strengths and where our weaknesses were, but we want some more real-time data that we can use as math teachers to help instruct our students. So we use that weekly assessment. We do an item analysis of that assessment. And then from that assessment, we build the lesson plan. So all 3 pieces are together: the assessment, the item analysis of that classroom assessment, and then the lesson plan. And they all 3 have to agree and they have to join. And the lesson plan has 3 columns. It's real simple. I believe in keeping things as simple as you can. Sometimes you can take that which makes perfect sense and make nonsense out of it eventually if you want it too much. So what we do is a basic approach. If from that item analysis on that assessment that they gave, if 50% or more of the class missed that item, boom, it goes into the reteach section. They know that the instruction was not in place for the students to have mastery of that item. And we also throw that item out as far as grades are concerned. We do not hold the students accountable for that missed item if 50% or more of the class missed it, because evidently we hadn't provided the instruction that was needed for them to be successful. Then the next piece is the review item, and we use from 51% to 80%. And from 51% to 80%, that's a review item. It's not addressed every day like the reteach item, but we do know that now we have partial mastery of that, but not full. They do not go on to new concepts until they have 80% mastery within their classroom setting. They can't proceed. That's the new material section of the lesson plan. Thank you. The lesson plan. So we have reteach, review, and new material. And we do this throughout the department. We do it all the time. Everyone, the entire math department works with this together. And basically what it does, even if you have 6 sections, if you have 6 classes of Math 9, which we call Math 1, you're going to have 6 different lesson plans. You're going to have 6 different preps because they learn at different paces. And they'll also have an honors group, which we identify those honors kids based upon test data as well. And we try to accelerate those as much as we can. So they worked hard, and they deserve, I think, recognition, and that's why I'm telling you what they've done tonight. They've done extremely well, and I'm very proud of them. And one thing that I believe in within a high school especially is departmentalization. I need to see the same thing in all the classrooms of that math department, and they have done very well. And I think Mr. McLeod now is going to give you some data and show you some more specific things about what we do. Mr. McLeod, thank you.
First, I'll pass out some copies that I have.
Yes, please.
I have them numbered by page, of which one I'll address.
We were expecting Matt to do that.
Oh, they're ready to go. I think there's 4 there. To reiterate what Mr. Mathis said, yeah, we do have several different lesson plans, but paperwork is not hard. Trust me, it allows me to teach more than it does actually sit there and do paperwork. And I think that's the main thing with me, because my lesson plan is very basic, very simple, but I can look at what they need to go on and be taught by the state standard. What you see here is the results of our 11th grade. Due to our, back in August, we have our academy, which I want to applaud everybody who allows us to have the academy in August, because it allowed us to do all this dissemination of data. And we need to continue this each year to help us with our data. But we sat down in August and we pulled all this data from the, I think the state TIDE website where the testing occurred. And we sat down and color-coded and made some tables. What you're looking at is the senior class now, who were sophomores, that was very widely publicized and known that they were 3% proficient. That's the first bar that you see. This past year, they moved up to 17%. Okay, which is a huge jump. Huge jump. In the table below that, you see the numbers. There were 6 total proficiency 2 years ago versus 28 last year. And there's your data. And also with the 3 and the 17%, you see the percent proficient. But another key thing is this: the average student score improved. I think that's 49 points, and we tested around 163 students, I think. So when your average improves 49 points, that's a huge jump for 160-some students.
49% or point?
49 points. The average score was a 25-16 this past year. 2 years ago it was 24-67. This is the same group of kids that we're following from 10th to 11th. Well, it's this year they won't test, but
This is current senior class.
this is a current senior class year, I guess. And last year was the first year we employed Mr. Mathis's method that he just told you about. Now at the bottom, what's important is this: the state average was only 21%, which is not good, and neither is our 17%. But we're not far off from state average, and I did the math with it, as I would. And I know only if we'd have moved 6 more students, we would have been at average. And in my classes, I have the Math 3 11th graders last year. And that's what I try to preach every day. Every single one of it counts. Every single one counts, because if 6 more kids would have made proficient, we'd have been at state average. That's how far off we were. And that's how close we were, and that's why we want these numbers to be presented. Because we all 8 of us have worked hard. I'm the department head, but Megan and the rest of them all do as I ask, as I'm directed by Mr. Mathis or Snyder, and then they do as I ask them to do. So they're all 8 of us. And let me throw this out as well. I think this may be the first year in a long time that we have 8 certified math teachers. Fully certified math teachers. All 8 of us. It's been a while, probably since we first opened, and I've been there since we opened it. So, Okay, here's another key point I want to show to you. That's page 1. Page 2 and 3 are both stapled pages. And what this is, these are bands of proficiency. I think page 2 is the 10th grade group 2 years ago, and then last year is 11th graders. We want to be either in green or yellow. That's 4, 3, 2, 1, decreasing, going down. Okay? As you, and I took off names and ID numbers. We don't want to identify those, but you can see 2 years ago we had 1 proficient. Well, we had 1 in the category 4, which is green. If you line beside each other, you'll see our growth dramatically. The green, more than, I don't know, quadrupled. I don't know how much it improved. If you noticed, our yellow section is huge compared to 2 years ago. That's level 3 proficient. And then even our blue section is smaller, but a lot of those moved up to proficiency, I think. The blue section became smaller, but I think they moved up to the green or yellow sections. And if we compare the level 1s, which are the pink, if you look to the back, you'll notice the pink section is a lot smaller on the back page of each one of those. So 2 years ago, that's almost the whole back sheet of pink. And versus last year, maybe a little over half. So a lot of those moved up to 2, I think. So they all grew at some rate, some faster than others. And even our high score improved. And I think the same cutoff scores were the same as 2 years ago. All of this is about all this came out of our academy we did in August. The week-long academy that Mr. Snyder had for us. We sat down with the department and discussed this and disseminated all the data. And I have to give Michael Harshbarger and Adam Riazzi and Casey Beaver and all of them credit. They made such a great chart. I didn't do this chart. We all worked collaboratively together. We're all 8 on the same page. That's great questions. Yeah, I know I went fast, but.
Okay, that's great. Anybody have any questions?
This is great.
I have just a couple of things.
Yeah.
One, you alluded to 80%, or maybe past it. Is that 80% of the students must master that?
Within that single classroom setting. When they have 80% mastery, then they move on. And the reason
I mean,
behind
is it 80% of the students?
80% of the students in that class.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
That works.
And we pay a lot of attention, those of you that are familiar with Benjamin Bloom's taxonomy of learning. It starts at the knowledge level, and then you have comprehension, and then you have application, and analysis, and synthesis, and evaluation. And that's basically how we learn and how we think. And what we found, that if you remember when we were in elementary school, there were a large number of number problems at the top of the page, and then 2 or 3 word problems at the bottom of the page. We have switched that, because until you get to the word problems, you do not get to the application level of learning. And if you're only at the knowledge and the comprehension level of learning, the retention of those skills are a matter of days. 4 to 5 days is all they retain those skills. But when they start applying them and thinking through the process, it causes more firing within the brain, and they retain and remember those skills long. So that's what they use with that 80%.
Yeah, each class.
And they'll keep hitting it at different levels until they finally get it.
At the other grade levels, do they all follow the same concept?
Yes, yes. And we have the AMP program, which is Advanced Math Prep, which is an extra math class at the 9th and 10th grade level for students that we've identified that are not at skill level.
Yeah.
And they use the reteach piece that each teacher from that grade level provides them. So they're getting extra support. And then during our AA time, advisor time, we have a couple of math teachers who provide tutoring during that time as well to get extra help during the day. And they work together as a department to determine who will go to that AA help. They're working very hard.
So what is the AMP again?
It's Advanced Math Prep. It is, go ahead, Bill, explain.
Well, we identified on the sheet you see, we identified students who are very close to the bubble, just barely in the blue, or no, I'm sorry, barely in the yellow, or almost in the yellow part, that can move up proficiency. And if we move them up by giving them extra practice, that would actually, move them up to level 3.
Those are the kids that if they get 2 to 3 more questions right on the assessment, they'll go up to that proficiency level.
It's that small
They're easier
difference.
to move, much easier.
Yeah.
And sadly, when you get to the high school level, they're so restricted by time and staff, we have to determine the most bang for the buck and where we can make the most difference in the lives of these kids, to advance them as quickly as we can.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Darren. When we try to cover so much material and we don't cover all of it as well as we should. And from what you're all saying, what we're gonna provide or try to teach, we're gonna make sure that we get that concept across,
Yes.
the concepts across that we teach it, rather than trying to finish the whole book, so to speak.
There you go. I
It's
keep
because
hitting
it's
it
a
all the
process, not a
time.
program.
Yeah, it's not a program,
It's a process.
it's a
Right.
process.
And I think that's true in math, and I think it's true in a lot of other subjects.
It is.
Now, let me ask one more question. About the 6 math levels, are those grouped, ability grouped?
No. No, one class of mine, I have 11 graders, and I align mine to the ACT test. My questions are aligned to ACT, because I'm trying to help them get a 21 to get promise.
But I mean, are there 6?
But of those 6 classes that we teach,
Yeah, I mean, are there 6
No.
levels there?
No.
oh, no.
We identify those students through test scores. Also, we don't force anyone into honors classes, but if they sign up for honors classes and they have the test data to prove that they have the skills to excel in that subject, we will put them in the honors class. That is the only skill level group that we
The
have.
others are all
The others are all,
varying level.
absolutely.
I have
All
STEM.
heterogeneously stocked.
I haven't had 3 STEM in there, but it's a mixture.
Once you get to
One
the
in it,
11th
you're in
grade,
it.
it sort of goes in different directions with the STEM and the LA and the different math levels that are
That's
taught.
the generational change here.
It is, it
It's
is.
based on their, what they,
Their
it's based on their
program
major
study.
that they declare with Ms. Mullins and Ms.
Well,
Smith.
We, I think all of us, I know last year, Mr. Baker was consistent in questioning about math scores, about where we went our LSIC meeting. But statewide, math was, and probably is still a great need.
Absolutely.
And to see that you all made this progress, we wholeheartedly agree with you. We're heading in the right direction with some of the things you're doing. Other of us continue to see it, and especially with certified math people.
Absolutely.
It's hard to do anyway, but without those that are totally certified, it's even more difficult. So we commend you on what you've done, and next year you can show us some more blue and gold.
One good note, within our English language arts department, for the first time ever, we are actually at the 11th grade above state level.
Good.
And that's not happened before, so people are working hard.
Our AP statistics teacher wanted to also tell that this last year was the first year more than one student passed an AP test in math. They passed we had two students pass AP statistics last year. First time ever we've had more than one pass during a year. So he wanted that passed out as well, although they're not included in here. They're probably one of the 4s or 3s in this list, but still, we had 2 passes.
Great. Yeah, I said, we want to have green, don't we?
4 green instead
Green,
of
that's.
green or yellow.
Green is very
Gold's
important.
not bad either.
Let's go with that.
I had a Freudian slip there a minute ago when I said that blue and gold. Then I realized that green was, our main goal. After, you give a hard time. Thank you very much, Mr. McLeod. We appreciate you.
Appreciate all
your
Thanks for
whole staff.
listening.
It
Appreciate it.
it sounds like you all have really focused in on this, came up with a non-traditional method of improving scores. And I salute you for thinking outside the box, because what we've been doing doesn't work
No.
at many levels. And if you all have all this extra time and enthusiasm from your success, feel free to, let this slide down the slope to some of our elementary schools, some of our middle schools, these processes, because if we don't start our kids out stronger in math, your jobs are harder when they get to high school. I've watched that with 2 of my 3 daughters, and I expect to see it with the 3rd when she hits LCHS.
One small statistic in that area, we always allot at the elementary level 120 minutes for reading a day and 60 minutes for math. And I'm not saying take away from reading, but we might want to look at 90. And we also may want to make sure that math is not always taught in the afternoon, but maybe sometimes in the morning, at least 1 or 2 days a week. It'll make a difference.
Okay.
I think.
Thank you, Mr. Matt. Okay, appreciate all of you. Okay, next we have, Greg, do you have something? Do you have something? I'm sorry. Okay, next, we have Danny Daly. Danny's gonna talk about the assessment update. Danny? Looking at the blue folder, are we?
Yes. Let you know up front, now this is just preliminary results here, it's just kind of raw data. This does not include a DLM, alternate assessment, those students that took that, they're not included in it. It does include homebound students, or homeschooled students in West Virginia. They show up on this data, they haven't been removed yet. We have some other students that we were required to test, but they will be removed in the end from us. For example, somebody was just here 30 days. You know, we have to test them, and they show up on our data, and then they are removed in the process at the end. This is not A to F data. That comes out sometime in November. And the whole intention of this is just kind of give you an idea of the raw data here for this year. Now, these are only masteries. This is only the yellow and the green. That's the one. That's all this numbers are. I didn't give you the whole 9 yards with it because this is going to change just around the corner. So it's just to give you an idea.
On page 2, where you got this first chart, now when you say that it's only those 2 levels, are these the numbers of students that we see here?
Okay.
What are the
On this
percentages?
one here, this is your mastery. For example, the first one there, it says this is 3rd grade math here. Okay, the results here in the first column are years 2014. For example, Duval here, Duval had 20% mastery. Last year they had 35% mastery.
Okay, so it's percentage.
This is percentage is all it is. This is not numbers of students. Now, if you go through this, every one of those it goes to 3rd grade math, 3rd grade ELA, 4th grade math, ELA math, and science. You'll get science data in 4th, 6th, and 10th grade in this. But these are all exactly set out to the exact same line. If you look at them pretty well, you can see if there's been an increase down here or decrease. Looking at the chart, it's pretty easy to see.
So the math,
First two.
at the 3rd grade math, the state increased as did Lincoln County, right?
Right. Yes. And everything includes state data in it also, on every one of these. The only difference ones, if you turn to the three, unless you want me to go through each one of them, I will, but I don't think you want to. The very last 2 pages, they are different. These are a different way of looking at the data. If you look at the one that says ELA, percentage student comparison, this is not, those other 2 are comparing school year-to-year data. This is student data in there. If you ignore the 3rd grade, the yellow in that first one there, because I don't have any trend data to go with that. That's the first year that this group of students have taken the test. Now, at the 4th grade, the green here, when that student was in the 3rd grade, for Duval, they made 57. When they were in the 4th grade, same group of students, as close as I can get, and I can't help if somebody moves out or somebody didn't test, but basically it's the same students here. In the 4th grade, if you look at Duval, they made 29, and there's a drop in that one. But that is student per student. We're tracking that. That is trend data for students. And if you look at, to know that it's the same group of students, it is by the school year, the graduating class. For example, if you go down and look at the 10th and 11th grade, that is the class of 2017 data. These people are seniors this year in the green on the very bottom. So that data is identified, that those students are identified by the year that they graduate. Now, if we continue on with this, for example, next year, there will be, in the green, there'll be 3 columns, because we'll have this year's data. And if we continue on, we will be able to track this group of students here, providing the test doesn't change. We would be able to track that student's progress through 12 years of education. But we never,
Never held on to the assessment.
I want to say I never, 4 years.
That's about
4 years is the most I've ever seen before they changed the test.
We know right now of what the plans are for this coming year's test will remain the same. We know that.
Yes, this year's test will be exactly the same.
We don't know any more than 1 more year.
That's all we know. And nobody, as far as I know, everything is going to be exactly like it was last year. Same test. All right. After that, all bets are off.
We anticipate the legislature's going to look at this again in the next session.
It could change, but it won't change this year. We've already, they've already done training, we're already got a new secure browser to put on. Everything is in place to continue this on. At the very best, we won't have 3 years of data at the end of next year. So you'll be able to get a better idea. Some of those data, if you're looking and some of them dropped, if they went up a whole lot or dropped a whole lot, that could have been some kind of anomaly. Really, when you get better data is if you can get it for 3 or 4 years and you can see, because next year, that one I showed you that dropped, it may be up higher than the year before. It could be something happened that particular year.
Or if you began to see a pattern
Yeah, and that's what we're looking at, a pattern on that last page.
at that particular level. You've given us a lot to look at here on our own,
Okay.
see if we have anything else.
Yeah.
So next year on this, if you gave us this chart next year, in this column, oh, for each of these columns, you have 3 grade
3
years for
grades.
next year.
Yep, you could be tracking that students, and it would be nice if we could get 6 years worth of data. That would give you something you'd see.
Definitely see trends over 6 years.
Yeah, that would really be a solid bunch of data. And now, when the next kind of data comes out, it'll be much more specific to ours. Keep in mind that this is going to change a little bit. We have, a little bit will be added to it, and a little bit will take it away from it.
Now, sometime in October is what we anticipate, right?
October the 12th, I believe, is when it's supposed to be released.
And you mentioned the aid they have created. How, does that factor into this? You said it did not.
Well, no, this won't, it'll be different than this. We don't, I mean,
I don't know that anyone knows that yet.
I don't know the criteria that they're going to use. I just don't know. I don't know if anybody knows that
Well,
criteria.
I think they're still maybe looking at that.
The AF, it may cut off. I just don't know what it's going to be like. Nobody knows what it's going to be. And I've asked that question, and I can't get that answer from nobody.
I think they're still debating at the state level.
It won't be very long. Somebody's going to make a decision up there because that data's coming out. Need anything else?
Thanks, Danny.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Testing. Okay, we have one other item in the presentation section that Ms. Newcliff wants to talk about the athletic field construction bids and planning again.
And I'd like to request that we do so in executive session.
Okay, as you know, we're permitted under 698-4 to discuss contracts in executive session. Is there a motion to coincide with Mr. Meek's request? Fred made the motion, second by Larry. Is that an all yes?
Yes.
Okay.